Hey everyone, this is Tiamo, and I want to thank you first for participating in my survey. Before I asked you what was your biggest challenge in growing your music business, and based on your responses, really quick to review, your top 5 was time, good paying gigs, fans, not having a manager and agent, and feeling overwhelmed. And so based on your comments, what I wanted to do is create a custom training program for you. Not something that I felt you needed to know, but what you told me you need to know most. And what I want to share with you right now before I go into the first part of the training is that before I became a 6-figure musician, so many people asked me how I was able to do that. And there's lots of things that I could go into about that, but to keep things really short and simple for you today, I'm going to say that the one main thing that helped me to succeed as an independent solo artist and where I am today is that I went outside of the music industry. Now, I know that feels a little counterintuitive, but for me, when I was in the music industry, so many things were not feeling right to me. It was feeling forced, and I just was having a hard time getting traction. And then I started looking for possibilities outside the industry, and that's where things really exploded for me. And so what I want to do now is talk about you. Because what I want for you is that you're doing your music full-time, if that's something that you desire. I want you to have thousands of fans, but most of all, I want you to have fun, and I want you to get back to the creative part of you that got on this music path to begin with. And so the first thing that I want to share with you that's most important on this video today is something that I call the music industry matrix. And I really feel that as musicians, we've been conditioned over time and socialized to really buy into all the different illusions and lies of the music industry. So I'm going to go into what some of those illusions are, and then I'm going to talk about, which is the best part of this video, how we can replace those illusions with your new truths. So the biggest illusions about the industry is that venues and clients won't pay you good money, which is just not true. But I know that the collective consciousness around that is that venues and clients will not pay you good money. The second illusion is that free is good when it's in the name of exposure. So that if you play for free, that's not only okay, but it's celebrated because you'll get good exposure somewhere down the road. And that's a big illusion. The next illusion is that people don't buy music anymore, and that they only do live, free streaming online. And that's also not true, but one of the biggest illusions out there. The other illusion is that you have to have a manager, an agent, maybe even a publishing deal, or to be signed with a record label in order to succeed. And I'm definitely going to go into that one. And the other illusion is that you have to tour. You have to tour all over the place. And you have to devote hours and hours every day of social media and in order to build your fan base. Another illusion is that, and this is a big one, is that you have to be young. And I'm going to definitely address that. And another illusion is that you have to be discovered. And almost every musician I know, even though they know of the minuscule chances that you'll actually be discovered, in fact, you have a greater chance of winning the real lottery than what I call the musician's lottery in being discovered. Yet some musicians still put all of their faith and energy and time and effort into trying to get discovered. Another big illusion is that you have to do it all yourself. And are you frustrated with that enough by now to feel like, I want to have other people doing this stuff for me, I want a team. But I know that there's this big falsehood in the industry that, it's really cool to be a DIY musician. And the reality is that it's really hard, but we're going to get into that in a little bit. And a couple other illusions for you is that you have to pay your dues. And what I mean by that is that you have to work really hard. You have to play lots and lots of small gigs in front of really small audiences. And that's just so uninspiring. And the last illusion is that, and this is the biggest one, is that you can't make good money as a musician. And that if you try to do it, you'll probably end up being a starving artist. And this is something that even generationally has been passed down by other musicians, by friends, family, teachers, even music business experts who have been telling you this lie. So now that we've kind of talked about the illusions and lies of the music industry matrix, I want to now talk about your greatest truths that await you. And your biggest truths are that venues and clients will pay you a lot of money for gigs. And I've definitely experienced this firsthand many times. And even when I started calculating and breaking it down, I found that there's been some gigs where I've made up to $500 per minute to sing my own original songs, which is incredible. Another truth is that when people pay you, they pay attention. And so you're really increasing your value, and you're getting more respect up front. And not only do people who pay you pay attention, but they also put a really nice audience in front of you too, to make sure that they got their money's worth. Another truth is that you can sell out your music. You can sell your singles, but most of all, you can sell your albums. And I know this because I sell more albums now than I ever did before. And I even have a little trick that you're going to love where I sell 100% of my albums to my audience, where everyone in the audience, 100% of them buys my album. And I can't wait to tell you more about that. The other truth is that you do not need a manager, an agent, a publishing deal, or a record label. And those are things that I used to have. I thought for a long time that I wouldn't get anywhere without a manager and an agent and a publicist, and so I went out and I got all those things. But what I can tell you honestly is that the best decision I ever made with my music business is to leave my manager and to leave my agent and to do it myself. And that's when I became empowered and succeeded outside of the music industry. So another truth that I want to share with you is that you can just have 1 to 2 gigs per month and make a great full-time living with that. You don't have to constantly tour and be away from your family if you don't want to, or your kids, or your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, that if you just want to do 1 to 2 gigs per month and make great income, you can. The other truth is that you don't have to be this young, super hot, rising star in the music industry. I'm 38 years old, and I remember when I was 27, feeling like I was running out of time and that I wasn't going to make it in the music industry because I was too old. When in fact, now that I'm 38, my music business doubles every single year, and it has nothing to do with my age. And a few more truths that I'm going to go to is that you can have a team around you that works for free. Rather than be a DIY musician where you have to do everything yourself, you can have a team where people do the stuff that you don't like to do, or that you don't have the time to do, or that you just can't do it, and they will do it for you. And I have a team for me that does a lot of that stuff for me, which frees up my time and my creativity, and they do it for free. And so I want to tell you a lot about that. And there's 2 more truths that I want to share with you. Is that I went from playing some gigs. I remember one gig, and you might have heard this story before, where I performed for this 500-seat venue, and there were only 2 people in the audience, and that really broke my heart. And that's where I decided that I had to say no to the types of venues that I was performing at. And once I made this shift and I stepped outside of the music industry, I started performing in venues where there were thousands of people. And it was such an incredible pivot and experience to be able to have that. And so I want you to know that you don't have to put in your dues or your time and play lots of small, dingy gigs in front of small audiences, that you can play in front of huge audience if you want it as a solo independent musician. And the last truth that I want to share with you is that you can be a thriving artist. I remember leaving my day job, and I had this crazy, irrational fear that I was going to be homeless within a few months. And despite that fear of being homeless, because of, I was really stuck in the music industry matrix, and that's what everyone told me. And, despite having that fear, I am so grateful for the decision that I made. And now I'm nudging you to the edge to make some decisions that maybe you're afraid of. And you're afraid of it because you don't know of what's possible on the other side of that. And that's why I want to show you what's possible in very tangible ways. So I know that as I've kind of covered some of my successes and the successes and truths that you can have for you with your music, you're probably having some doubts. Because if I were you, I'd be having doubts too if I were sitting there watching me. And I might be thinking like, well, maybe Tiamo, you ended up meeting the right people at the right time, and they just picked you up and showed you the success, and you didn't have to do a lot of work for it. You just kind of ended up in that situation. Or, maybe you think that, I have the money, and so because I have all the money, I can just pay lots of people to do all this stuff for me. I want you to know there's a time where I had no money. Like I was just sleeping on people's couches. And but you might be thinking that, or you might be thinking, well, because of my lifestyle, I've had plenty of time, freedom, and so that's worked for me. Or maybe the biggest doubt is that perhaps you think that I just got lucky. And you may have those doubts. You may have many other doubts, and that's okay. But what I want you to know is that this isn't about luck, and this is not, it's not about talent. It's about knowing what actions to take and then taking them. And the great thing for you is that you don't have to come up with those. I'm going to give them to you. And I'm going to do that in the next video. So we're going to go a lot deeper into how you can do this. So today I wanted to introduce you to some of the truths that are going to replace the illusions that you've been living under in the music industry matrix. And I'm going to show you how you can apply all this in your life. And I'm going to invite you to take the red pill. Because, you could take the red pill and discover your new truth about your music. Or you can take the blue pill and you can stay in the illusion. And so this is all about the power of choice. And I'm excited for the power of choice for you. And before I release my next video training, I'd love for you to leave a comment on this page so I can hear from you. And in the next training, we're going to dive deep into all these things that I've talked about. And I'm really excited to serve you and support you and share these concepts with you, because after all, it's based on what you shared with me are your biggest challenges, and I want to be able to address those so that now you feel that you can step outside the music industry matrix and into your own truths that are filled with light, fun, excitement, things that are doable, tangible, and the kind of results and success that you can have right now. So I'll see you in the next video.